Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Awakening with the Girls.
Hi guys, Shannon Shine here,
Breezy here.
and we are excited that you are here with Awakening with the Girls. And today we are just really excited to be back. We took a little break for the summer. We hope you guys had a great summer. And two, we're excited to get really creative with you. I've been in the season of creativity. I think that fall is a good time for harvesting that creativity. What have you been up to, Breezy?
Oh, totally fall is such a great time to harvest that creativity because here in Michigan, all the leaves are changing. We have vibrant reds and oranges. And there's also fall activities like pumpkin carving and just like baking is a creative activity as well. So it's really nice to really explore what it means to be creative in the month of October.
Definitely. So we have the Bring Me to Life challenge, and we've done different themes, and the theme is, like you said, getting creative for October. And I think that it's a good time because the seasons are changing. Like you said, the leaves are shifting, but also like our energies and our moods are shifting. So in the summer, we've been so hustle and bustle. We've had all these ideas, but it's been hard to really like sit down and focus on them, at least for me and many of the other creative minds that I know. People are moving, there's events happening, there's new jobs, whatever. And it's hard to like sit down and get focused. But for me, as soon as the weather changes and the temperatures start to change, it makes me kind of hibernate and get out my art supplies and my notebooks and start organizing all those ideas so that I can really get to work on them.
Oh, that's so true. Like summer has so much yang energy. Like you want to be active, you get inspired by the people around you. You are so engaged in your communities, which, doesn't lend a lot of time to planning. And like you said, we're moving into a more like a period where we feel like we want to hibernate, which is a great time to plan. And part of the planning process is that brainstorming, which is a creative process.
Yeah, finding ways to keep yourself busy and just using your imagination through those colder months too. It's a way to kind of fight off depression for me, I think, rather than just wanting to curl up and hide into the darkness of winter. I start getting excited now so that I can like see the bright colors. Like I love to paint with bright colors. I love to get messy and find a way to bring nature inside when it's cold. And it's just a really good time to get those juices flowing.
Exactly. I mean, you being an artist, Shannon, I guess I want to ask a really important question. Like, what does it mean for you to get creative?
Well, for me, it's just a way to express all of those emotions that I have inside because, like you said, in summertime, we express them in a different way. We're moving our bodies. Oftentimes, we're out dancing or running or boating or jumping, whatever. But in the creative flow, I'm using those energies in a different way. I'm activating my sacral chakra to pull out any sort of downloads or daydreams or experiences into a physical or creative form. So it doesn't actually have to be physical for me. I think creativity can be expressed with writing and with music, and again with like dancing and stuff.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I mentioned earlier baking, cooking.
Oh,
Those are also
yeah.
creative forms.
What's one of your favorite things to bake?
Oh, good question because I'm a interesting baker. Well, I'll summarize it that way, but right now I'm really interested in like the apple pie. My sister baked her own apple pie and I got to try
Oh,
some of it. So blessed. So I was thinking to myself, I have all these apples. Jesse and I went on a fall date. We wanted to get creative with our love life and we went apple picking together. And that
ah.
was a really fun experience. And now we have all these apples, and I'm thinking maybe I should buy a crust and just try to make an apple pie.
Ooh, you even featured a little bit of that in one of your video vlogs, didn't you? Like your experience?
I did. We did do a little bit about going to a farm here in Grand Rapids and just showing a little bit about farms in the city.
I love that. How can people find your video blog? Because you share a lot of the cool experiences that you have up there in Michigan and when you travel.
Yeah, you can go to my website, goldengaian.com, and you should be able to find my vlogs on my website. You can also just go to YouTube and search Golden Gaian, and my vlogs should pop up as well as Breezy Spread Love. Another great location to find my vlog channel is also on the Bring Me to Life website.
Yeah, we're excited about this new website making it easier for things for you to find. Anyway, so you guys like you said, pick apples and things in Michigan. I think that's really cool. I mean, we pick apples down here in Maryland, but you guys have like a whole orchard experience, and I just love seeing that creative flow too, because there is an art form to farming, even like knowing how to like process the crops in a certain way, or which ones can go together well. Like, I guess being creative is investing time into learning some sort of process that you can enjoy in a different way. So like with food and farming, you're getting creative and planting and harvesting what you're going to put into your body. Same with cooking and baking. And with music, you're taking a energy and creating it into something that you process with your mind and your body.
That's totally true. The literal definition of creative means that something is marked by the ability or power to create. And it is one who is creative or has the ability to create. And so when one gets creative, one must possess an imagination to have the capacity to innovate, invent, and be resourceful. And all of those skills are used in baking, in farming, in any sort of art project. And even when people are working on business plans, they have to innovate and invent and be resourceful.
Those are like all my favorite things. I think my brain is just like strictly creative brain most of the time. Like all of the ideas. Let's make all of the ideas. So I'm definitely an artist. I think you're an artist. I think from your definition that we're all artists and creators.
Yes, exactly. Let's make that a key point. Everyone is creative because involves the ability to form mental images of things that are either not physically present or have not been conceived of yet. And it involves having the ability to create those things and pull those things into reality. And everyone has this skill. It's something that we all naturally possess, but it's also something that can be strengthened over time, just like a muscle.
Yeah. So I think that we all have like these little creative processes that we do throughout our daily life too. So like I create little altar spaces or creative safe spaces in my house to place like crystals, or I have like little notes that people have given me and little gift items, and it's a creative practice for me to like rearrange it to the seasons. And I see people use interior decorating or even exterior decorating as like a creative flow too, like people that think they're not artistic, but then here comes Christmas or Halloween in their yards or their homes, or this elaborate decorative experience.
Mm-hmm. They might not think of themselves as artistic in a conventional way. So we're trying to broaden the definition of what it means to be creative, you know?
Yeah, I think that it breaks my heart sometimes when people are like, "Oh, I'm not a creative person," or "Oh, I'm not artistic," and they don't realize how many little things they do that they use their imagination for, or they use, like you said, that creative muscle. What's something that maybe you do in your daily life that helps you get creative? Maybe a ritual or a practice.
You know, my starts with the very important process of brainstorming, and I love to doodle. So I like to make those bubble charts where you
Mm.
like have something in the center and you draw little stick legs going off of it, and you create more bubbles that just expand those ideas. And something that I do daily to be creative is I actually watch anime. And
Mm.
watching anime really inspires me because the characters in anime have these qualities about them to never give up and to also be willing to help others even if they hurt you. And just all of those qualities inspire my work and inspire how I want to interact with other people throughout the day. So being creative, things that I do to really inspire creativity in my life is to also watch other people who are creative.
Yeah, I love that. I'm not as into anime as I wish I was actually, but I love animated shows. I actually went to school briefly to be an animator. Like I went to Pittsburgh to learn how to do animated cartoons and commercials.
Wow.
That was like one of my side dreams as like an early teenage Shannon.
Mhm.
So that's pretty cool. I love that. And I've always loved watching people draw anime or characters or portraits. Like as an artist, like portraits fascinate me so much because to get that exact texture or shadowing or angle on a face, like anyone that can do portraits or characters, I think are just so talented, and they've used that muscle in such a way and made it their craft.
It's a That's a great skill to have. And you know, they had to spend so much time cultivating that ability and really exercising that muscle, just like how you and I spend a lot of time each day brainstorming about podcasts and brainstorming about topics that we want to share with other people.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time getting creative with my jewelry. I think that's my favorite form of expression. Like, people ask me all the time, they're like, what would you do if you could just spend your time doing all that? And I was like, I love talking. Like, I love talking. I think that's a form of beautiful creative expression. But I also just really love jewelry. And not even like just the act of creating the jewelry, but like seeing people wear it, figuring out how to photograph it. It's like such a process. Like, I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and I'm like, oh, I need to put this crystal with that crystal. And it's just like an inspiring thing. And it's like not even just me. Like, I feel like when I start a creative project, whether it's with jewelry or music or art, it's this channel for flow. Like, energy of spirit just like comes into me and is like, do it this way. And sometimes when I try to fight that, like, my ego gets in the way and it wants me to get extra detailed, or like, no, I want to put these colors together, then it just doesn't work out. But if I just go with the flow and I just let that spirit kind of channel through me, art becomes such a intimate and like magical experience with spirit. To just see something create in front of your eyes, or to hear a song that was once just like a few beeps and bleeps on a computer, or a few strums on a guitar that you weren't sure were going to turn into anything. It's so magical.
And it's such an important process, the creative process, because it has a lot of mental health benefits too.
Mm.
And like everything you're saying is so beautiful. And it like reminds me that when we try to fight the flow of creativity and we try to hold on to an idea that, like you said, that your ego wants to manifest, sometimes it doesn't always work out because you're gripping that idea so tightly. And so, earlier we talked about like what are little things that we do in our everyday life to inspire creativity. I bet the viewers or the listeners out there are wondering, like, how can I cultivate creativity in my life, if they don't feel naturally creative?
Definitely.
So I do want to share a few tips from Keith Sawyer, who's a psychologist, on how one might be able to cultivate creativity. All right. So how to cultivate creativity? There are a few things you want to do. You want to ask the right question. You want to become an expert in that field. You want to be open and aware. You want to play and you want to pretend. You want to generate lots of ideas. You want to fuse these ideas. You want to choose the best ideas, and then you want to make something out of your great ideas. So the first step is to ask the right question. And what that means is writing down 10 variations of the same question just to get your brain to think about things differently. Mm-hmm. So for example, if you want to get rid of bugs in your house, you might write down, how do I get rid of bugs in my house? What do bugs like? What traps a bug? How do bugs get inside? What are natural enemies? Thinking of these questions, or thinking of 10 variations of the same question, kind of allows you to take a step back and look at the whole picture, look at the whole problem. So the same thing can be done with art. For example, you want to make this beautiful painting. Say you want to make a painting, and then you say, well, how do I start this painting? Well, you can also start with the question of, what colors do I like? Mm-hmm. Or what shapes do I like? Or what texture do I want? Or what emotions do I want to convey through this painting? So thinking of 10 variations of the same question is a great way to start that creative process.
I think that's a great topic, because it goes back to like, what is your why? That's been a big focus on the Bring Me to Life network recently. And we have it coming in some different podcasts too, where we really focus and break down like, what is your why for doing basically anything? So like, you ask yourself, what is your why for painting? Well, you want to relax. Well, then your question was, well, what are some of your favorite colors? Well, what colors are relaxing? So sometimes when I paint, maybe I don't want to relax. I want to release frustration. So instead, I'm like, I want to use these colors that make me feel angst, or like I'll close my eyes and there's like a healing practice too. So this is kind of like an art therapy thing where they ask you like, what color is it? Where does the pain, like, where is the pain or the memory stored? Like, where can you see it? And then they'll say like, what color is it? Like, what does it look like? And sometimes my anger is just really red and orange and black. So then I'll make a painting that's really red and orange and black, but I don't have many paintings like that, because those are the ones that I typically keep for myself. They're a different form of self-expression, and I don't usually use, but that doesn't always mean that red's going to mean that for everybody. So it's really cool too how creativity can be so different for everybody.
Definitely. It helps, like you said, it helps people express what they're feeling on the inside, and everybody expresses the same feelings differently.
Mm. So I know another way that you get creative is with your dance and your hula hooping. How does that make you feel when you get to like go out and express yourself freely without judgment versus if you haven't got to dance or just be silly or you for like an hour in like a long time?
Oh man. So with the hula hooping, I've experienced this recently. I haven't hula hooped in a while, and I hula hooped a little bit last night. And at first it's like, oh wow, I haven't done this in a while. I feel really rickety and old, and it kind of brings up of like, oh, I should do this more often, because after a while it starts to feel good. And
Mm-hmm.
hula hooping in public, it reminds me that I have personal power, and it's really empowering to be able to express myself without fear of being judged, and knowing that if I am being judged, that I can take comfort in knowing that I love hula hooping, and that it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter what anybody else thinks, that hula hooping is it's how I choose to express myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so just in general, it reminds me that I do want to continue hula hooping because of how it makes me feel, because it helps express a side of me. But it also reminds me that I need to continue to become an expert in hula hooping, which is another one of those ways that you can cultivate creativity, right? Is that I do need to deliberately practice over and over
Mm-hmm.
again and become proficient in that new trick that I wanted to learn, or in my flow state, becoming proficient in sliding into that mental flow state instead of focusing on the technical aspect of tricks, or focusing on like, is the audience enjoying this? When I'm able to take my mind off of what does the audience think, or is the audience enjoying this, I'm able to slide into that flow state. But in order to be in that flow state, I need to continue to practice. I need to be an expert in how I express myself as a hula hooper, because doing this by watching videos or doing this by listening to TED Talks, just to be able to acknowledge that I need to increase my knowledge in whatever hobby I'm taking on, because successful creators don't just like knowledge, they thirst for it, right? And they
Mm-hmm.
always go beyond what they've learned from their teachers and their books. So I do want to not only take my hula hooping to the next level, but also take my counseling to the next level, which
Mm.
I'm sure you want to do too, Shannon.
Definitely. I think you touched on a few things I want to make a comment on. Um, I always want to level up. I always want to better myself. And I think that that's a beautiful way to really get creative and to stay inspired. But I also want to make the statement of you don't have to want to be an expert just to try something. I think
Right.
it's really important to like get out there. So one of the things CeeLo has been challenging me to do is to remember one of my own mottos of get comfortable being uncomfortable, and to put myself out there more and to try more activities. Like I like hula hooping, but I would never visualize myself as a hula hooping expert because I just can't grasp the hand-eye coordination. Like I could if I really wanted to, but I'm not going to be an expert on it. But it's not going to stop me from trying to hula hoop. Just like you may not want to be an expert at electroforming jewelry, but if you came to my house and it inspired you, you're probably going to want to make a piece and be able to say that you've tried it and you understand at least a little bit of it. So I think it's cool too to just like dip your toes in the water, but definitely if you want to stay inspired, if you want to really find something that or once you find that thing, I guess we should say, that really lights your fire that you want to become an expert at, that is like your soul passion creative project flow. Like I love how excited you get about finding the creative ways to infuse with like psychology in that practice. Like your jars are beautifully creative. Not only
Right.
that, your jars are something that lasts forever.
Right.
So I have a few of your jars, and it's like you're you can't see her, but she's blushing. The jars are really cool. So she has this workshop. Breezy has this workshop, and I don't remember the exact title of it, but I know that I've put in quotes in mine. I've put in stickers in mine. People have given me kind of like reviews or just like inspirational messages, and and I think that that's such a beautiful thing that you've gotten excited about with your creative process, is finding ways to bring that into your practice, your daily practice, your practice with your clients. And another thing that you mentioned was you quit caring what other people think. So with your hula hoop flow, that's something I had to do too with dancing. Like when I was a kid, I used to love dancing, loved it. I would be one of the only people out on the dance floor until my family started making fun of me, and they started telling me I looked silly. Oh, I was such a ham. Too many people wanted to look at me. They didn't like it. So I stopped, and I didn't dance for a long time until I met like you and a few other people in Michigan that were just like, get down on the dance floor and like pull me out onto it. And I'd be like, oh, you guys aren't going to make fun of me or think that I want too much attention for dancing? And you were like, no, we think it's kind of weird that you're not dancing. I was like, okay, fine. So I would get out on the dance floor, but then I realized it goes back to like a Dr. Seuss quote that I love. It's like, those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. They want you to be your authentic self and just show that creative flow and to live your best life and to, again, not worry. Like, you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, yes, but you don't want to hold yourself back in fear of what others are going to think for you just trying to be happy and live your best life.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so important to just continue to be yourself, because you never know who you're going to inspire. You never know who's watching that's going to take something positive away from that experience. And I do want to point out that being an expert isn't like a judgmental thing, in the sense that like, we want you to be an expert in what you're passionate about, and not in the way that you feel like you have to present your expertise to people, right? I want you to feel confident in your ability to perform at the level that you're currently at, and to not feel ashamed or feel like the need, because need to be better. I know that you and I, Shannon, have been talking about overthinking our projects and worrying about not being super spot on in terms of how we present our material. And it goes back to knowing that we have researched and we have done the work in our field to become the experts at the point that we're at right now, and knowing that the message that we have to share is just as valid and just as important, and that it's okay to release the judgments that we feel like people might have in the future, which is silly to think, think about.
It's just important to be authentic and to just be you and to start wherever your starting point is. Like, if people don't like you, that's fine. Not everybody is going to be in your jam. Maybe you don't need everybody to like you. Does dancing make you happy? Well, then dance. I mean, if you're dancing in your own bubble and respecting other people's boundaries, who cares if they don't like that you're dancing? They don't have to watch you. If you're painting a picture and it's really happy and uplifting and it doesn't do the same thing for someone else, that's okay. Maybe somebody's painting a really morbid picture and it's just not your thing. That's totally okay. Like, I'm not into like horror flicks, but I love animated comedies. Like, you know, everyone's personalities are different, and that's so key to find what fills you up so that you're inspired, and finding those topics that you just want to talk about forever. Like, I love that we have so many musical friends. Like, it lights my fire to see like our producer and musical friends get so excited about some beat they just made, and it makes no sense to me. It sounds like complete alien gibberish, but to them they just like hit this next level of creativity in their flow. Or like your partner Jesse, when he gets excited about a glass blowing, or like he finishes a new design. Like, I don't understand how he just did that with a torch, but that's his jam. Like,
it's so amazing, and it is awe-inspiring to watch other people get creative or have creative inspiration, and to just know that they're in their flow, and you're like, wow, I'm excited for you.
Yeah, like, who doesn't want to see people get excited about creating something? Like, little kids bring me a picture, I try to show them the most excitement, like, even if I have no clue what their scribble is, just because I want to see them continue to draw. Or if they're dancing, I will sit there and clap and cheer them on. Like, don't ever take that from a child, because I feel like that's what stops so many of us as adults, is just not feeling like our creative expression was good enough for an adult to pay attention to. That's like another just Shannon seed of advice, is I think the children, when they're creative, is like so beautiful, and their aura is just so happy and magical.
And that's an important part to touch on, is that oftentimes our unwillingness to call ourselves creative or our unwillingness to call ourselves an artist comes from those very first experiences when we were young, when other family members um, who we love and who we trusted tell us something negative about our creative self. So for example, I like to sing. I love to sing, and I used to sing out loud just randomly all the time, but my sister started to like yell from the other room like, "Shut up, you're not that good." And so I stopped kind of doing that, and I still hold that and carry that around a little bit, right? And
Mm-hmm.
like the first step is acknowledging that there's a problem and then knowing what you're going to do about it. But acknowledging that, okay, maybe in the past I have had somebody that I loved and cared for tell me that my creative expression wasn't good enough. And you know what? Everyone's creative expression in the beginning isn't that great. And it's important to acknowledge that it's okay and that you can improve and to not just stop there.
Mm-hmm.
So with my singing, that's okay. I need to continue to sing in order to improve.
Right. I mean, just because your sister might not have thought your singing was good doesn't mean that your best friend didn't think you were the best singer in the world. Like, you never know what somebody else loves about you. And so many people inspire others from afar. Like, maybe you and your sister have different genre tastes. Like, she didn't like the genre you were singing. If you were singing her favorite song, she would have probably been singing with you, you know? Like, it's just a matter of perception. And I agree with that too. I remember when I was a kid, my dad got me a karaoke machine, and this was back when we had cassette tapes. Can you believe we're the generation of like cassette tapes? What the? Anyway, so we had cassette tapes and we could record on them. And I would record songs off the radio, and it had double cassette, and I thought I was the coolest kid in town. I had double cassette. I could play my recorded one that I dubbed from the radio, and I could sing on another one. And I would record cassettes and play them in my dad's parties. Now I'm like, oh my God, my dad was like my age now. Could I imagine like a little kid playing it? And now I'm like, dude, if a kid did that, I would cheer them on, because what my dad's friends kind of like teased me and taunted me too. And it traumatized me. Like my dad thought it was cute. He let me do it, but like the world around me was evil. Like it was dark. It was a dark place, and it crushed my imagination. But now like I have Silamon and you and Ashton and people that are always like cheering me on. And I just like recorded my own little intro of me singing in my podcast, which is something I would have never have done until I had this awakening process to realize that like my tribe supports me and not everybody wants me to fail. Not everybody is out there criticizing you. You're your own biggest critic. Like, so I actually went to art school briefly, and one of the things that I took from that was my art teacher also told me to know when to quit, to know when to quit on a project and to start something fresh. Because from a creative brain, we never see a project as finished because we're such perfectionists. So like as an art, like on an art project or a song or a research project or a poem, we want to perfect it. But it's important to know when to quit, because if you push it too far, then you're going to lose the original image. You're going to lose the original message, and you can start something fresh and restart a new message at any point. So
Right.
that was another important thing that I've received through my creative journey.
I hope that the listeners out there, all you high vibe humans, are really feeling inspired to get creative, or maybe even to dive deeper into your creative art that you already have cultivated. Because again, we're moving into that time in fall. We're moving into a time when we can work more on our personal projects.
Mm-hmm. What is maybe a personal project you're working on right now?
Maintaining some sort of balance. You know, I just moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan, made a career move, and I'm looking into what it means to live in Grand Rapids right now and how I can grow my personal business as a holistic health practitioner in Grand Rapids. And I am working with a local group to put on a festival in 2020. I can't really talk about the details right now, but we are having meetings about it. We are actively putting together details on that and how we want to present that and launch that. So there'll be an official festival announcement in November, but that's one of the projects that I'm working on with some other high vibe humans in Grand Rapids.
Festivals take a lot of creative energy, but they also inspire so much creative energy. So one thing we've been trying to do on the Bring Me to Life Network is break the stigma of music festivals having to be kind of like this hippy dippy I don't know, like I talk to people in what I call the normal world, because people think that musical world is this magical land, which it kind of is, but they have this assumption that all music festivals are drug infested and riddled with problems and darkness, where really, if you find a safe music festival, it can be one of the most inspiring and creative places to go and open your mind, as long as you stay safe and realize that you're going into it to have a spiritual experience. We've been breaking the stigma of worrying about what other people think and what our jobs and stuff are too, because Breezy and I both, we teach workshops at transformational festivals, and we usually call them transformational festivals because that's what they are. They change our perspective of the world.
That's so true. Is the idea that you want to expose yourself to all sorts of different types of people when you go to these festivals, that you want to expose yourself to these new ideas, because going to a transformational festival is very different than going to a music festival. Usually transformational festivals have more workshops, and the music artists have conscious lyrics, or they're trying to promote a positive message beyond let's party. And I do feel you in that. I hear you when the complaint that people have about festivals being this drug infested place with lots of negativity, and I hate that that's what's gone mainstream. Because we're actually, as a festival organization, coming up against people who don't want to rent their land to something that's calling themselves a music festival because of that stigma that's been created. And so we're having to come up with a new way to describe ourselves, as and we can't, and like, the group doesn't really want to call us a transformational festival either, but that's what I want to call it. And that's what I would say would be what we're trying to do, is promote consciousness, promote healthy behaviors, social justice movements. We're promoting community organization and sustainable living.
Yeah,
all of those things get promoted through the workshop, but we have to do it in a creative way in order to inspire people to take on that really complicated process of changing their lifestyle in order to make the world a better place.
Definitely. I mean, they've definitely, transformational festivals, transformative gatherings, retreats, anything that involves art, music, spiritual community workshops, they've changed my life in such a way of just opening up my eyes to different perspectives. I see people express themselves in their creative dress. So the way that you use your self-expression and the way you show up in the world. I love seeing how people dress when they feel like no one cares. Like, some people, they have layers upon layers of extravagant garb, and some people have little to nothing, and they feel safe and confident, and that's totally fine to them. They don't seem objectified. It's weird to me how so many of us as humans in our society have these dress codes and these standards, and I understand that it's to help protect certain people's minds, but I think it's also become so interesting to see people when they can freely express, when they can wear whatever they want and know that they're accepted. It's such a unique experience. Like, people's hairstyles, people's dress styles, the way people talk, even like their lingo, the way that they express themselves with art. Like, I've seen people that are visionary artists at festival that are very like modern landscape artists in the day-to-day world, because they live that kind of double world. But I love people that can integrate their spiritual self, their creative self, and find a way to bring it out into their day-to-day life. That's one of the reasons I express myself through my hair. I dye my hair the different seasons of the year because it expresses how I feel during those times. In the summer, I'm bubbly, I'm creative, I'm blue, I'm purple. And in the fall, I'm more like grounded and focused and like hibernating with my dark reds and autumn colors. So it's a way that I express myself. What's a way that you express yourself in your day-to-day expression?
Definitely through my clothing, as well as through my jewelry, so the crystals that I wear. And oftentimes I try to do makeup, but it just depends on how much time I have during the day. So a lot of the times it is through the clothing that I choose to purchase, and which is usually a happy medium between hippie and office worker.
Feels.
Yeah.
Because you walk that double life too.
The corporate America double life, dreadlocks and business suits. So just trying to express myself while also upholding the values that I agree with in society.
I think it's beautiful that you walk that double line. And I love that you rock your dreadlocks in a business world, because I think that that's probably been a struggle for you as somebody that's breaking the stigma, first of all, of being a transformational life worker. Like, you help people through their transformational lifestyles, as well as you've taken the time to dedicate yourself through the schooling to show up in the business world, the corporate world, so that you can see both people's sides of you, and you can meet people in that level, so that they realize that you're a real person. You can,
Mm-hmm.
I like to call it street smarts as well as book smarts type thing.
Mm-hmm. Having the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I love it. I think that it's a beautiful thing, and it's one of those things that you can become an expert at figuring out how to be a creative chameleon and work with all types of communities, and not put yourself in a box, not an echo chamber. Allow yourself to see different points of view and to try different forms of creative expression.
Yeah.
I think we've covered a lot of different topics today. We covered some art, some music, some daily life rituals. Do you ever call upon the angels to get creative?
I do call upon my guides. I do a meditation. Oftentimes I do close my eyes and try to clear my mind and allow for whatever to come in. I do say a prayer to my guardian angels, just letting them know that I'm asking them for their guidance, letting them know that it's okay to interfere in my life, so to speak, and just allowing myself to be creative. And another thing is to remind myself to set aside time to be creative. So I did block out time today to put together some Halloween goodie bags.
Yeah.
So just, we talked about what it means to get creative. We talked about the definition of creative. We talked about how you can cultivate creativity. And one of those processes of how to cultivate creativity is to make sure that we set aside time to get creative.
I think that's key. I try to set aside time to get creative, like I said, in my home. So like in my little altar spaces, I like to set up different ones to the seasons. And for a while it was just like random times. But now for me, since I take my crystals out for the full moon, I've made it like a full ritual for me. Like that's when I get creative. Then I usually put my crystals out. So a crystal, real quick, a crystal tip, a great creative stone is carnelian and citrine. And those are two that I really like to keep around. And so is amethyst. So those are some creative stones, and I like to put them around in my little altar spaces. And typically I find that the full moon makes me extra creative too. I'll dive into a painting. So if it helps you create a routine to get creative, I highly suggest that. Because like you said, if you don't make time, you're going to just keep pushing it aside. And it's important to make time for things that are important to you.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Well, I'm feeling super inspired and excited. I have a couple of ideas of projects that I want to go work on now, like some jewelry, some art. Where can people find what you're creatively up to?
They can definitely visit my Instagram, Breezy Golden G, and check out like my daily posts or my story. I also rebooted my Snapchat. If anybody has Snapchat, you can follow me, Spread Love Scott. And that's just how you can like tune in daily. Another way is also to go to my website, goldenguyan.com, and check out my vlog channel.
Yay! I'm excited. I like to tune into your vlog channels and your card readings, and you're always posting awesome things on all of your social medias. I like that you keep up with the Bring Me to Life Challenge. If anyone else wants to keep up with the Bring Me to Life Challenge, you can join us in the Bring Me to Life Challenge group on Facebook, where we would love to hear your comments, your inspirational ideas, and anything else that you want to talk to us about in the Bring Me to Life Challenge group. Tag me or Breezy. So tag Shannon Shine or Breezy on the group so that we see it. We would love to hear from you. Keep that community growing and flowing. And you can find my art and creative expressions at shantasticshine.com. And I'm really excited to be getting these podcasts back out into the world. I hope you guys like them, follow them, share them, love them.
Love them. I know. I'm really happy to share all of that information with all you high vibe humans. So please give us a like and remember to spread the love and share this with your friends.
Yay! So until next time, I'm going to say, I hope you stay awake and shine on always.
Stay healthy, stay light, and don't give up the fight.
Bye!
out. Bye.